After starting the season on the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, GT America, powered by AWS, roars back into action nearly 3,000 miles west here at Northern California's famed Sonoma Raceway. 26 GT3 and GT4 machines are ready to be turned loose around this 12-turn, 2.5-mile circuit for a 40-minute sprint to the checkered flag for round 3 of the season. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. My name's Ryan Marine. Amanda Busick is in the pits. Calvin Fish is alongside. Calvin, a beautiful racetrack and a real challenge. We had wet weather earlier this morning for qualifying. Should be relatively dry for race 1 of the weekend.
Yeah, it looks like the conditions are going to be a bit more consistent than we are anticipating here at the start of the afternoon. But coming off a great weekend at St. Pete, had a couple of different winners in the top class there. See what they can do here this afternoon. So, chance to get your elbows out a little bit here compared to the streets and the confines of the walls there. But this racetrack is nonetheless very, very challenging.
There you see the conditions starting to warm up as the sun peeks out over Sonoma Raceway. And I'm sure Amanda Busick down in the pits is thrilled to see a little sunshine after the rain we had this morning. Hello, Amanda.
Hey, Ryan, and it's definitely trying to peek in here. We're hoping we see it a little bit. As you can see, I have a pretty thick jacket on. We can take a little...
Apologies, a few problems there with Amanda's equipment. We'll be hearing from her shortly. This, though, is the front row of the grid here, Calvin, and Jason Daskalos in this, let's call it vintage, Audi R8 LMS GT3. He'll lead the field to green, showing some of the same form we saw on the streets of St. Pete.
Yeah, he won the opening round at St. Petersburg, and George Kurtz, who starts alongside him, won the second race of the 2 winners so far this year. Start alongside each other on the front row. Second row, Zalus Lamborghini. So great little inter-team battle there, Jeff Burton and Jason Harward.
Exactly, that's Harward in the Bullicorn liveried Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo right there, the number 88. And then, as you mentioned, Jeff Burton, new to the team in 2022, will start alongside. This is a look at the track layout. 12 turns, 4 kilometers. That's about 2.5 miles, full of challenge.
It really is. Just over 2.5 miles in length. You come across the start-finish line there. Very fast. The highest speed is achieved there. Right through turn 1 on the approach to turn 2. Then lots of elevation change through that first sector. Starts to drop downhill into the second sector through the carousel. Lots of challenges here, Ryan.
No doubt about that. Well, let's try this one more time. Amanda, what do you have for us down on the grid?
Well, I think the unpredictability has been common here in Sonoma, and you think about the 28 cars that are ready to kick off round 2 in this GT America class, but I want to go right to this front row. Cal, you were talking about that impressive start in St. Petersburg. It was for these two guys. Jason Daskalos was on the pole for the first race, ended up winning that race. George Kurtz was on the pole for the second race, ended up winning that one. I did hear prior to this race, guys, that it is going to be a split grid. The GT3 cars will be up front, followed by the GT4 cars. Well, leading that GT4 pack is none other than Brian Putt. I talked to him prior to this race here, and he decided to stay on slicks during his qualifying effort and yelled back to his teams, "I don't like this, I don't like this." But it resulted in a pole position, kicking off the 3rd race of their season.
Well, it might not have been comfortable, but it was fast. Brian Putt took pole over Marco Radicic by over half a second in the GT4 class, Cal.
Yeah, and you just got to be brave and allow the team to sometimes make those bold decisions for you and just hang on. And he did a wonderful job in treacherous conditions to lay down the fastest line for the fastest time for the GT4 grid.
2 classes in GT America powered by AWS. There's SRO 3, which is GT3 spec cars, but a slightly different balance of performance to accommodate some of the older GT3 cars that are out of official homologation. It allows the series to do its own balance of performance. And then further down, of course, the GT4 machines. This is the starting grid. Daskalos on pole with Kurtz alongside. George Kurtz swept a pair of races here at Sonoma in this series 1 year ago. Then the Zalus row, row 2, Jeff Burton and Jason Harward starting 3rd and 4th respectively. Row number 3 features Kyle Washington in a Porsche for G&G with Mirko Schultes in the Callaway Corvette starting alongside in the 6th spot, and Justin Wetherill, veteran of Ferrari Challenge, new to GT America though, will start in 7th. Back to the GT4 grid, Brian Putt, V-Sport Racing on pole. Marco Radicic had a great run in St. Pete as we see a car sliding off track. That's Custodio Toledo, who was due to start in the final row, Rentec Racing car slides off track. We'll keep an eye on that storyline. Oh, and another spin here. That's Jeff Burton, who was due to start in third. Keep in mind, no tire warmers in GT America powered by AWS, unlike in GT World Challenge, which we'll see a bit later on today for the GT3 cars there. This track's still damp. They're on cold, slick tires, Calvin. Not a great combination for stability.
No, and we've switched to a new Pirelli compound for this year, which is a little bit harder, a little bit more durable. But in these conditions and with the sketchy racetrack right now, certainly catching a few drivers out this weekend and even here on the formation lap. So not sure if there was any damage to Custodio Toledo's car. That was a little bit closer to the barriers than certainly Jeff Burton was. Just a quick spin for him, so he should be in great shape. But that will certainly wake you up in the early part of the afternoon.
Well, these drivers are able to retain that starting position as long as they get there before turn 7 on the lap leading to the green flag. So there should be enough time for them to do that, but they'll need to pick their way through the traffic very carefully, and hopefully, especially in the case of Custodio Toledo, we've seen there's a lot of mud around this track, and you slide off, there's no guarantee you can get going again without some assistance.
Well, that's always the problem when you've had inclement weather like we've seen here over the last 3 or 4 days. It's not just having the problem on the racetrack. When you go off the course, it's like a skating rink. You got no control of the race car, and it basically takes the camber of the off-course excursion and will take you into the barriers sometimes.
No shortage of great stories up and down this field, but that Callaway Corvette, you see it coming through the screen right there, bright yellow. This is the original chassis for the C7 Callaway Corvette. There's some smiles in the Cameron Racing pit box. You're looking at Guy Cosmo there. He'll be racing a little bit later today for the Cameron Racing team. Chris Cognazzi, his co-driver. But this is the Callaway Corvette we were talking about, and it roars in a way that you just don't get out of a lot of these modern race cars. No turbochargers to be found, just unrestricted raw power.
Yeah, it was great to see that team arrive very late in the proceedings to get it to St. Petersburg. Put in a wonderful performance. They had good pace. They had fast lap, didn't they, in one of the races? Very, very quick there. So great to see Mirko. I believe he's going to try and do the full season. So that's great news for us in terms of seeing that brand here on the grid.
Now to the GT4 field. We take a look at it coming through. Remember the Zalus crew members on the screen now, talking to Jeff Burton, getting an update from Jeff after the spin on the first of 2 formation laps. But the GT4 machine's not quite the same performance level, not quite the same sophistication in terms of the driver aids, the ABS, the traction control, but these are true through and through race cars, Calvin, and everyone who's driven them has told me these cars are a ton of fun.
They're just a wonderful package. You've got the right amount of downforce, but yet you can follow closely. With the GT3 machine, they're heavily loaded with the aerodynamic guys, the little winglets and everything. But these GT4 cars, a little bit cleaner look, as you can see. It's Marko Radicic, I think, pulling off to the side. Not sure what that's all about, whether he's just trying to do a quick reset on the electronics possibly, but it seemed like he came to a standstill there on the approach to the carousel, turn 6.
He was a race winner in St. Pete in the GT4 class, showed great pace there, qualified second in GT4 here today, but some early problems, some gremlins. And these modern GT cars, Calvin, so much of it is reliant on electronics, and one thing anybody knows about electronics and water, right? They don't mix so well.
Yeah, so hopefully you can get that car reset. Now, when you make a spin like this, you have to go at the back of the class, so that's what Jeff Burton has done. Now, I'm unsure with the situation, that momentary stop for the 22 machine, whether he can get going again quick enough to reassume his track position, or whether he's actually got a bigger issue than that.
We'll keep an eye on that for sure as we get ready to go for the 3rd race of the season. That's the pole sitter, Brian Putt, who now will have Rob Holland, it appears, right behind him. Rob in that brand new Porsche. Great to see. We saw several of those new Porsche Caymans racing in St. Pete, but the homologation wasn't complete yet, so they had to race as an invitational class. All of that's been taken care of. We saw it debut in SRO competition in Imola in the GT4 European Series a few weeks back, and now the American debut. But this is the problem here for the cars scheduled to start on the outside of the front row in GT4.
Yeah, Marko is going to be frustrated with this situation. Championship leader on the back of that win and a strong showing on his home track there at St. Petersburg.
Still see the safety car on track. We were due to have 2 formation laps, so evidently Marko not in a safe spot.
The clock should start, I would assume, otherwise everyone will be a little bit shy on fuel.
It's a frustrating way to get things going, certainly for no one more than this man. Great qualifying effort in difficult conditions to qualify second, but Marko Radicic, native of Serbia, now living in Sarasota, Florida.
You can hear it. You can see, I think that was his car with a misfire, 39 car. This car is having to start from pit lane after some issues at St. Petersburg. So this is Chris Cagnazzi. We saw his teammate for Sprint X competition, Guy Cosmo, on the pit box there. Made the switch to Steve Cameron Racing for this year. And I think they'll have a lot of success, a lot of expertise in that camp.
Moving over from Rintec, and Guy told me, look, no hard feelings, but when you have a chance to run with a team like Steve Cameron Racing, you take it.
This could be somewhat of an advantage because I think because of that first lap being waved off, he should be able to be released. Otherwise, he's going to be a lap down. So he can probably go back on the track, generate a little bit of tire temp as he tries to catch up to the pack, and could be in reasonable shape.
That's a good point. See if he's able to recover. Ultimately did not turn any laps in qualifying. They knew they were going to have to start at the pits. There were a few incidents, both in race 1 and race 2 in St. Pete on the opening lap, and so there's some carrying over as far as penalties from that is concerned. Adam Adelson, Premier Racing. This is the older spec Porsche Cayman, one of a couple that will be racing across both GT America as well as Pirelli GT4 America a bit later on today.
Well, that team, Adam had a problem in race 1 at St. Petersburg, had to switch to that backup chassis, which was the older car, but because of that, it was homologated and he could score points in that second round at St. Petersburg. They've maintained that chassis here for the second weekend of their series.
That will be a talking point throughout the season because of the fact that the new Caymans were not eligible to score points. The series made an adjustment to the rules and effectively gave teams 2 dropped races as far as points go, so that the teams that couldn't score points in their new Caymans in St. Pete were not disadvantaged. And as a consequence, now the other teams have a chance to drop poor results as the season goes along. And it's going to make calculating the points at the end of the year a little more complicated for us.
I was going to say, and the consequence of that is for you and I, Ryan, it's going to make it a nightmare at the end of the year, and we're trying to say who's going to win and how big are those points leads.
Getting ready to go for the official start. Interesting that George Kurtz is pulling up alongside because the initial start was waved off. I would have thought this might have been a single file start, but I'm sure they got the information. So Jason Daskalos in the Audi will start to the left of George Kurtz. The GT3 field will fly through first, and then we'll see the GT4 field take the green. There is the green flag, and we are racing. Round 3 of the season is underway in Sonoma.
George there thought about trying to get the run. Jason jumped on the power, got the gap early, and George just slides in behind him. Was concerned about the water there around the start-finish line if anyone was going to get on the power too early and have an issue, but nice and clean.
Nice start as well for Jeff Burton, recovering from the spin. Picked off 2 cars right there coming into turn 1. Took a peek to the inside of Kyle Washington, but had the door slammed shut on him. That's Washington in the white Porsche from GMG. And behind was Burton. Trouble here in the GT4 field. Up the hill for the first time, and around goes one of the Toyota Supras.
Yeah, 69 machine there going for a ride, unfortunately, and everyone else panicked a bit behind them and got involved in the action as well.
Nick Shanny and another Supra, that's this one here, the number 21, went around, and saw a BMW spinning at the back of the field too, but no contact. So for now, we stay green. Jason Daskalos with a great start, and he's built up a gap now of around a second over George Kurtz.
He's got the hammer down. I think he's one of these drivers who's very comfortable when the car's a little bit sketchy and not really feeling great in these sort of conditions. He's able to get up on the wheel and make it happen. George settling in nicely. I think he's very confident coming into this race weekend that he's with a new team this year, CrowdStrike Racing with Riley Motorsports, and they got a great group together there. Some excellent engineering force on their pit box. Colin Brown will be on the radio talking George through this. His teammate, of course, in GT World Challenge America.
George swept the weekend in GT America competition here at Sonoma last year. Started on pole in both races. Had a penalty at the start of one of them and had to serve a drive-through, and then knifed through the field and still took a commanding win and totally dominated the second race of the weekend a year ago. Jason Harward running third. He made his GT3 debut in the GT America races here at Sonoma 1 year ago.
See a very different line there up through turn 2. That's where you reach maximum speed here around this racetrack. 2.5 miles, but you don't really stretch your legs too much. About 145 miles an hour is the top speed right on the approach there for the GT3 cars. And Jason was running a very narrow, shallow line up through the hill. A little bit different to the 2 leaders.
Update from Amanda in the pits. Marco Radicic reporting a misfire as the issue on his BMW. So again, heartbreak for the driver who was supposed to start on the outside of the front row in GT4. That's Jason Bell, the reigning GT4 champion, coming under a lot of pressure from the youngster Gray Newell. Aston on Aston.
Yeah, Gray Newell, he's got a lot more confidence coming into this year than he did last year on his debut season in pro racing. So, had a couple of wins. One by himself in GTA competition, another one in Sprint X competition with his teammate Ian James. So, totally different story. He's got some track time this year. They ran in Dubai earlier this season, and look at Jason Bell now starting to put the pressure on Schwest here.
Schwest at the moment in the 10th spot, it appears, and Jason Bell, one of the drivers on the move here in the early going. He cleared Hutton McKenna and picked up a spot on that last lap. This is Rob Holland in the Porsche leading Adam Adelson, and great shot of all the GT4 cars flashing through, showing the speed around this Sonoma circuit.
See that McKenna name back in racing, certainly on a Porsche. They're longtime supporters of Alec Job Racing. Long-time and very successful sports car entrant. Someone's dived the pit lane. I'm not sure if there's a penalty or a technical issue here.
It's Adam Adelson coming into the pits. Interesting to note that Brian Putt, the class pole sitter in GT4, dropped all the way to 9th. So some drama there for the B-Sport racing driver, and that has allowed Rob Holland to take the lead. He was a winner here in this series a year ago, but that was in a Ford Mustang. Making the switch to the Porsche this year, Moisey Uretsky now heads to the pits. And Moisey was really quick in St. Pete as well, making his debut in the championship with a lot of experience in MX5 Cup racing.
Something we didn't see that Gt4 Start, so I wonder if there's been some penalties called for people jumping the start. The fact that the pole sitter is so far deep in the pack, I wonder if there's a bunch of people got a big run there. GT3, GT4 split. Oh, that was a big moment there coming off of turn 4.
De Silva in the Supra right in front of Putt, who's trying to recover from whatever ill fortune befell him. To the inside in turn 6. Don't see a lot of moves made there, but Brian Putt got it done. Meanwhile, big battle here. Ross Schwest in the black Aston Martin. He's got Bell coming up the inside into the hairpin.
That is super hard racing, but pretty fair by both drivers there. Jason wisely just got out of it right as Ross decided to go for that apex. So Ross Schwest knows he's got the champion behind him, but he's not making it easy on him.
Now, Calvin, we've talked about the improvement that Jason Bell has made, and I'm not sure he would have backed out of that 2 years ago.
I think you're spot on with that assessment, Brian. I think that's really one of those moments where he's got so much more racecraft now. You know he expects to be leading these races now, but sitting there in a prime position in the top 3, and a lot of time left on the board.
And he's reeled him right back in, so first, second, and third right there in the camera shot. Porsche of Rob Holland out in front, but Ross Schwest running a strong second. That team has been dealing with some issues. They were supposed to have 2 chassis, one for GT America, one for Pirelli GT4 America, but they've been having these niggling issues, electronics with the second car, and so they have to press this single chassis into service in both races, which has them on the back foot. But Ross Schwest with a great start, just a little further back. Here's a bold move up the inside. Right? Yeah, that was Hutton McKenna.
Wow, he didn't quite make it stick, but he's certainly thinking about it. He carried monster speed there through turn 2. Battle here for second position.
Second overall, and Jason Harward, who has the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race thus far. Still very early, just 10 minutes into this race. That's the brightly colored Lamborghini, and he is heaping the pressure onto George Kurtz.
Yeah, he's got a second in hand in terms of pace overall leader, so I think if Harward can clear Kurtz here, maybe he can go chase down Daskalos for the lead.
This is the chicane, turns 9 and 9A. Very slow portion of the racetrack, but crucial because it leads to this sprint down to turn 11, the tightest hairpin of the 2 and the best passing zone.
It really is, but unfortunately, right as you're about to get on the brakes, you're kind of going through that little stream that's running across the racetrack there, so that makes it a little bit more difficult to really commit. This racetrack is just going to improve, and the driver's starting to gain confidence. Kurtz really got a good lead there after turn 11. Is now closed in on Harward. Look at the different lines there. George really runs out wide through turn 2, sweeps it across. Harward deep into the brake zone there for turn 2. Crest the hill there, difficult to see the edge of the road. Then there's a real roller coaster ride through here.
And Jason had his hands full. You could visibly see the twitch. And Calvin, you could attest to this. If you can see the twitch outside the car, it was a big moment inside the car.
Yeah, it's arms and elbows for certain. They're like spaghetti trying to keep that car and wrestle it to the ground. But I think he's another driver who's just really come on gangbusters over the last 12 months here in terms of his performance on the racetrack. The team is learning that Lamborghini Huracan chassis. He gets it to the inside of Kurtz. Nice move there. Gets the grip, gets the position.
Jason Harward to P2, SRO Motorsports, the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo up to second. George Kurtz takes a peek to the inside, not close enough to make the move, and now Jason Daskalos, who watched that all unfold through the rearview mirror, he's got all he can handle behind him in the form of Jason Harward.
Yeah, Harward made that look really easy. The car's got the grip through there. He can just tighten his hands and keep it tight to that inside apex. George was looking to sort of like do a double apex there and sweep back down, but Harward had filled that gap.
Oh, here he is closing in under braking for the chicane. He is close to Daskalos. Is he close enough? Is he brave enough to try to outbrake into this little puddle here?
Not sure that little stream there is really going to knock down too much tire temperature. It's just momentary as you go through there, but it certainly gets in your head a little bit. Whereas you see Daskalos kind of running the outside of the normal dry line into the brake zone there as teams look on and nod their head in approval. This is a good little battle up front right now.
Now there's a lot to be approving of if you're in the SRO's camp right now. Harward just turned in the fastest lap of the race again on that last lap, a 1:41.6, which is nearly a second clear of anybody else in the field. Up front, though, Rob Holland now has Ross Schwest breathing down his neck. This is GT4.
It is, and Jason Bell just sitting there in that third position. McKenna's made a move around Newell, so McKenna now in that Porsche up to fourth, Newell down to fifth. Putt has made a great charge through this field. He's now back up to sixth and with that battle for the lead. So our pole sitter potentially has the pace to go and eat into this pack a little bit and maybe still score a podium here this afternoon.
Right there, the call attention to Hutton McKenna. What a charge he's been on to get up to fourth. The McKenna name has been in the sport for so long. He has a couple of years racing in Porsche Carrera Cup, as it's now known, and is doing that again this year in addition to this program, both with Wright Motorsports. What a great team to be working with as he makes his first step into GT4 competition.
Yeah, they've just got so much talent in the engineering squad. You got guys like Jan Halen on the team to really use as a sounding board. They even had Pat Long working with the group at Long Beach just last week. So many resources there and just a great place for a young driver to learn his trade.
Off the pace, Euler, I believe. We saw him have a spin earlier in the race, right at the very start. This is the sister car to the Marco Radicic car that we saw have the problems as well.
Holland did a nice job just keeping these Aston Martins at bay, leading the way with this Porsche Cayman. So it's Porsche, Aston Martin racing, then another Porsche.
Harward continues to show great pace. He and Daskalos ran basically identical laps that last time around. Kurtz was a little bit slower, just a few tenths of a second, but he's closed right back into these two. Looking up the road, we have some GT4 traffic to deal with here before too long. That yet could have a part to play.
He can really roll the speed. He's almost too close to Daskalos to make it work. Needs to time that a little bit better. I think Daskalos was trying to just contain there with the gap. Harward looks to the inside, deep on the brakes, almost too deep. Gets in a little bit wide there. Is it going to open up the door for Kurtz as well? No, Harward slides back into that second position.
Now we saw he was willing to put it on the line, but Jason Harward couldn't quite make the move at the end of the drag strip, quite literally the NHRA drag strip that is part of the Sonoma Raceway complex. And caution on the course, a spin here. This is a local caution for now. That is the pole sitter in GT4, Brian Putt, around in the chicane. We remain green outside of that section of the racetrack for the moment. And all of a sudden, Daskalos now finds himself the hunted rather than the hunter. Here comes George Kurtz.
Yeah, Kurtz is looking to take advantage of these two dice now up front. So that turn 7 move by Harward is a great opportunity there. You're coming off the brakes there, high speed, or into the brake zone, should I say, and you got a little bit of runoff room to work with if you do overcommit like you did. I wonder if Brian Putt just got involved with Gray Newell, who's he's trying to dice it up with for that top 5 position in GT4.
GT3 fight, you just saw the top speeds in the GT3 field in our Race Vision powered by AWS, and George Kurtz in that Mercedes tops that list. So that gives you an idea of where the strength of the Mercedes might be relative to the Lamborghini that he is chasing.
Holland is gap Schwesh by 2 to 3 car lengths here. That allows you just to pick your line, hit your marks. Don't have to compromise your lines at all, but that Aston Martin really can use it. Oh, and McKenna there a little bit deep and had to gather himself up after hitting that second part of that chicane.
That brings Gray Newell to his doorstep, and Newell in the Aston, the heart of racing, Aston Martin GT4 up the inside. Looks like he should be able to make that move stick, and does. Inside the hairpin, put Gray Newell up a spot to P4.
Yeah, and I know he's going to be getting good notes from Ian James. Talking to Ian James yesterday about the race. He said that last corner, you really got to keep it tucked to the inside. You just lose grip if you get wider and wider there as we look at those top speeds again. Now in GT4, led by Steve Dinan on his return to pro racing aboard that Carbahn with Peregrine Racing Audi.
Long-time tuner, synonymous with BMWs, but Steve Dinan, he's been running the Carbahn operation in multiple championships the last couple of years, and now gets a chance to hop back into the driver's seat for the first time in a couple of decades.
Yeah, big plans for Steve. Spoke to him about his operation. He's getting back into the aftermarket even bigger than he has already. He had a non-compete when he sold out Dinan, and now he's going to get in full force. Going to have up to 70 employees in new premises that he's going to be based in Denver. So he's very excited about that in terms of his off-track. And with his on-track stuff, he's very busy there as well. Here we go for the lead. Schwest to the outside, down into turn 7.
Hard on the brakes for turn 7. Holland forcing him to go the long way around. Schwest in the Aston Martin to the outside. It's Holland in the Porsche to the inside, and Ross Schwest drives the Aston to P1.
That was beautifully judged. Good hard racing between the two. Just gave each other enough racing room. That's how it should be done. You know, it's one of those corners you can really get side by side. You got to coexist, and they did a nice job as Elias Sabo has had a little spin here.
GMG Racing Aston there, but it's an Aston up front. Porsche running second, but for how much longer? Jason Bell has closed in. This is the fight back on for 4th. Newell was able to pounce last time after the error by McKenna, and now Hutton McKenna putting the pressure back on the youngster Gray Newell.
Great battle here. This is really sensational stuff going on here. Kurtz has got around Harward.
Didn't see where that happened. We might have a replay, and it might have been GT4 traffic. Wow!
Oh, that was messy. That was messy. Daskelos, the leader, was off and on, and Harward had nowhere to go, and Kurtz took advantage.
Damage, though, to the front of George Kurtz's car. It's missing the tri-star, 3-pointed star, synonymous with Mercedes, and some damage to the grille of that machine. Now the crew sees it for the first time. That's the Daskelos Racing crew. Nick Short, who oversees the operation, was at the right of the screen. Long time associated with CRP Racing, entered cars in this championship.
Look at the different lines. It's like they're in a different zip code running up the hill there in terms of their approach to turn 2.
It's great news for Daskelos, even though it looked like he might have been the one that was initially caught out. Went bounding over the curbs and somehow came out with a bigger lead than he started. Fight is on for 2nd in GT4. Well, Holland again stuck on the inside trying to fend off Bell.
Well, Bell probably watched that move that Schwest put on him and thought, well, I'll cut and paste that one, but he wasn't quite as far alongside Holland as they got into that brake zone, and certainly Holland was saying, I'm not going to have that happen twice to me, so holds him off. Great battle here, and Schwest has taken off a little bit.
Rob Holland has a wealth of experience to draw upon. Raced in British touring cars for a time.
That's late. Oh. Yeah, that was super late, and the problem was he then had to tuck it to the inside. He gets on that mud, probably activated the ABS a little bit. Couldn't get it woe down and turns Jason, so Stews will be taking a close look at that one. Let's take another look at it, see how it develops. Big commitment down to the inside. When he hits that puddle and gets into the apex area, just can't keep the car turning.
McKenna has to take evasive action through the mud on the inside of that chicane as well. That gives Rob Holland some breathing room. This is where Bell came out after that contact. How many positions did he drop down?
He's like 6th or 7th.
6th in class, yes.
Dinan's having a strong run here. Looked good in
5th.
practice, didn't have a right qualifying run in sketchy conditions this morning, but Steve Dinan getting up on the wheel. Impressive for a guy who's a little bit later in life, let's put it that way.
Leaders running through the GT4 field.
The gap was shrinking, wasn't it?
Yes, trying to find a way past Sean Whalen.
Wow, it was tight. It was really tight there at the end of the pit wall there. Kurtz is having to fight his way through. Daskelos is taken off a little bit. Harward is kind of regrouping, trying to put the pressure back on Kurtz.
While we see this fight continue here on the track, let's hear from the pits of the pole sitter in GT4, Brian Putt. Amanda, what have you learned?
Imagine that it's definitely not the day that Brian Putt wanted. He did come to the pit a little bit ago and they were looking over the car. Everything seemingly is fine with that Aston Martin, but the focus right now is already on to tomorrow. They are looking at that fastest lap time. And based on where Brian is right now with just under 19 minutes left in this race, he's in that top 4, top 5 range. So if he can save that, that would be a good save to the day from a problematic start that they had here to this race.
Thanks, Amanda. While you were giving that report, Jason Harward made the move around George Kurtz once again. Calvin, how did he get it done?
Well, he just used the same move that he did earlier. He's able to just tuck it tight to the inside for the carousel turn 6. Traffic was up ahead. Daskelos goes for ride. He misses his braking point a little bit. He's going to have mud on his tires. Can the other two pounce on him right now? He's going to be vulnerable as he gets to the brakes.
Here they come. Daskelos in the Audi, tapping that brake to make sure he's got pedal. Kurtz looking to the inside of Harward. Harward looking to the inside of Daskelos. Daskelos covers off that inside. He's 2 wheels up and over that curb to make sure he does not lose the top spot. He holds on to it for now.
Yeah, he was under no pressure there, so just a little mistake there possibly by Daskelos with the lead. Just missed his braking point a little bit, had to go straight. Keeps it together now though, but see a little bit of damage to the rear diffuser.
Yeah. I thought I saw some too on
So
Daskelos.
maybe that off-course excursion. I'm not sure if he's had some argy-bargy elsewhere around the circuit, but that off going through the S's there, turn 8, may have been a contributing factor there. Definitely looks like the rear diffuser is damaged a little bit. That may be affecting his balance even under braking. So much braking ability is created by the downforce on these race cars, so if that's compromised a little bit, maybe it's giving him fits there in the brake zones.
This is the fastest car on the track. CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race so far to Jason Harward. He set that about 10 minutes ago, a 141.6. No one else has cracked the 142, so that gives you an idea of just how quick that car might be. Understand that Sean Whalen might be off track. That was one of the GT4 cars actually out of the SRO Motorsports stable. Hopefully he's able to get that car back going once again. Top 3 overall here, Calvin. Separated by less than 3/4 of a second, and the fight is on for the lead. Harward closes in under braking.
Oh, he's got a really good car underneath him. He's done a great job, and that was really close indeed as they came off the exit there of turn 9. Full course yellow. Not sure if this is for Whalen's car. Whew, this will take the pressure off a little bit for Daskelos. Give him a chance to regroup here, because certainly Harward is looking very threatening there in those last couple of laps.
Understand this is for Sean Whalen, so whatever befell him, he was not able to recover. And with 16 minutes to go, we reset things under the safety car. Daskelos, Harward, Kurtz. What a fight it's been. That is Whalen off track. What is that? The plunge down turn 4, I think, into turn 5, heavy into the tire wall.
He's off the road there, and Stewards will give you a chance to try and get the car back fired up again. They'll be in communication with the team. Unfortunately, seeing our first course yellow here.
Said heavy into the tire wall. I thought that was the case from the first shot, but the second angle didn't show too much damage, so Sean may have escaped. There's Nick Short in the middle of the screen.
You may think he's escaped as well, because that lead was looking vulnerable there.
Yeah, what does this do then, resetting these top 3? Does this favor one of the 3 more than the others?
Well, I think Harward has the fastest car. You see that in the lap times, obviously, but I think he's got the grip. I think he's got the pace to potentially get out front and take off a little bit, but he's got to get there. As we saw on the initial start, Daskelos was very good on relatively cold tires, and they're going to drop off a little bit. One concern here is the pickup here. Has been one of the concerns talking to the drivers yesterday about these tires and the pickup that they will get. So that will be a big factor on the restart. But as we know with Jason, he's got that ability, that sort of car control, to be able to get up on the wheel early and wrestle the car around it. So I think he may have the advantage initially. It'll depend how much time we have to work with, but I think Harward is going to be tough to resist.
Back to Amanda's report about Brian Putt. You heard her talking about trying to go and get the fastest lap of the race. And if you're new to GT America powered by AWS, that is important because there's only one qualifying session per weekend, despite the fact there are 2 races. The grid for race 2 is set by fastest lap in race 1. So her point was, even though things have gone sideways for Brian, this yellow will let him catch back up and maybe he can salvage a little bit of something. But if he can put in a fast lap in doing so, he at least then can guarantee a good starting spot tomorrow.
Yeah, and there could be a real strategy in that. Sometimes you're just in a battle all race long. It's like you're not going anywhere, and you end up running the lap times of maybe a group in front of you that don't have the potential in pace. So create a little gap, and then just it's almost like a qualifying lap. You just got to lay one down, and that will give you that grid spot for tomorrow.
We talked about a lot of the challenges of the track, but we haven't yet mentioned the fact this is an old surface, and you can see the wear and tear of the tarmac here. And the result of that is a lot of tire degradation. Anytime you come to Sonoma, talk about tire wear is on the front of everyone's mind.
It is, and I think with the relatively cool conditions that we're experiencing here in Sonoma this week, with the tire, with the way that it's gone forward, different construction, I believe, to the tire, also a slightly harder compound. And that means it's taken a little bit longer for the tires to come up to temperature. Well, how does that really play out in the big scheme of things? Well, there are cars that are pretty aggressive in terms of their tire degradation, and some that are kinder. Well, it's going to really help the cars that were more aggressive, because it's going to make it a little bit more durable over the long green flag run. So some teams and drivers and cars who thought, well, we have the advantage, you know, in the second half of these races, some of that will go away because of the new product from Pirelli.
This is the GT4 leader, Ross Schwest. Great job driving to the front. He started 5th in class and was able to make some moves. We saw him make that outside pass on Rob Holland. He was a winner once last year, won the first race of the weekend at Circuit of the Americas. But before finding racing, Calvin, he was a tremendous athlete, basketball specifically. He was the 1998 and 1999 All-Stater in the state of Louisiana for high school basketball. At the time he graduated, he led his high school all-time in assists and steals, was second in scoring, and he played D1 basketball at both Georgia Tech and LSU. So some pretty good athletic bloodlines there for Ross Schwest, and the racing is in the family too, because it's his uncle Laney that actually founded NOLA Motorsports Park there in New Orleans.
Oh, wow, how cool. Really, really cool. I didn't know that. I was a basketball player, but they banned me because I was too tall.
I don't believe you. Calvin and I are of a similar height, and I don't think either of us would stack up terribly well. No offense, Calvin.
Okay, Spud.
Daskelos out in front behind the safety car, getting down to the wire here. Just over 11 minutes yet to go. Lights still on the safety car as well, so there's not going to be much time left. One thing this does do, though, especially for these GT3 runners, they're not going to have mixed class traffic to deal with. This will be a pure fight between the top 3.
Yeah, I think for Harward, he says, let's get going, let's get going. I need some time on the board here to try and get around Jason, and Jason's going to say, I just want to try and hang on for this win. He's going to try and get a feel. He may have talked to Nick Short on the radio about, is there anything, if he does have an imbalance in the race car with that damage to the rear diffuser, is there anything he can do? Adjust the bars maybe a little bit, the roll bars in the car, and maybe adjust his brake bias a little bit too. If he's got some rear downforce gone away, maybe want a bit more brake bias to the front on those entry middle corners. He obviously had that issue into the turn 9 chicane there a few laps ago, so I think he's struggling a bit, but he's still got the track position, and time is running out.
Should also give a call to Mirko Schultes, who runs 4th. That's up 2 spots from the start of the race. It's not often you say quiet in relation to the Callaway Corvette, but it has been a quiet run for Mirko. Gradually, slowly, patiently working his way forward and getting faster as the race goes along.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that was the trend in St. Pete, too. Maybe didn't get off to the quickest start, but by the end of the race, he was on pace with everyone else.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, but slowly, because he's ran a 41.9. He's the only other driver in the 41s, bar Harward there. So he's got pace, and we saw that at St. Pete. He laid down some really fast laps there in race 1. So I think that's just a case of, you know, the team coming on, the program coming together late, Mirko getting acclimated with this form of racing once again. He's got a ton of experience, but he hasn't done a lot in a long, long time. So it's great to see him back at this level of competition. And, you know, maybe that car, maybe it's kind on the tires, so maybe it takes a while for that car to come into its sweet spot.
We told the story at St. Pete, so if you heard it there, apologies. You're about to hear it again. I think it's worth reiterating, though, about his love for the Chevrolet brand. He's a man from Germany, and as a young man in Germany, he was looking for some vehicle to transport his dirt bikes around. And he found a Chevy Tahoe that apparently didn't have a roof. And for whatever reason, he fell in love with the car and therefore fell in love with the brand Chevrolet. And if you look at his resume, just about everything he has driven has been powered by Chevrolet, including the old LMPC Orica prototype that he ran that in the prototype challenge class. That was a Chevy power plant.
Yeah, it's a neat story, and just wonderful to see someone who just embraces, very successful businessman, but just embraces this form of competition. He's now based in Sarasota with his wife and his 4 girls, so loves America, and has had a ton of success here over the years. Used to drive with Ringer van der Zande in prototype challenge competitions, so cool team. It's a really neat story about that whole group and how they came together. Got the car incredibly late, just prior to the St. Pete race, so it's a last-minute deal here. They've had a chance to regroup since the race last month. Here we go again.
2014 Petit Le Mans class winner, champion in that effectively prototype challenge class, and a different name, the World Endurance Championship, or the Le Mans Series, actually, as it was known at the time, back in 2011. So rich history for him. The cleanup continues. The lights are still on the safety car. Mike Stillwagon, who we'll see racing later this season in TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. He's the pace car driver. And he'll bring that car's neck if necessary.
Yeah, there's never really a question about your pace car driver not driving the car quick enough if Mike's behind the wheel. I'm sure he could give these guys a bit of a run for the lead here with the performance of that Acura pace car.
A couple of other notes to clean up. Got an update that we saw Adam Adelson make that dive to the pit lane about 15-20 minutes ago. Apparently he was serving a penalty for changing air pressure on the grid, so that explains that. And he had recovered to get up to 11th, but was just shown as in the pits once again. Meanwhile, under the safety car, down to the pit lane, and Amanda.
Well, I'm going to show you a shot of the Daskalos team, who we don't normally root for yellow flags around here, but this team wouldn't mind if it stays out a little bit longer. You guys were talking about the diffuser that's bouncing off the back of that car. Jason has radioed to the team that he thinks that the car is fine. But I want to go back to race number 2 in St. Petersburg. Jason had an unfortunate exit after picking up the first win of the season. He wants to see if he can right that wrong in St. Petersburg and get back to the top of that podium step in this race.
Looks like he's maybe picked up a piece of dive plane or something from another car there. Not sure if it's his diffuser that is broken, and that sort of rearward piece is like an extra little piece sticking out there. It looks like an orange color.
We'll find out very soon if that car is right or not, because Mike Stillwagon has switched those lights off on top of the safety car. So I think we're about to turn them loose here for a few more laps. A sprint to the checkered flag, just over 6 minutes left.
It'll be tight on if we're going to get 3 or 4 laps. It's going to be super tight. We'll see.
Daskalos, Harward, Kurtz, the top 3 overall. The Gt4 top 3 as they run. Ross West, Rob Holland, Gray Newell is up into the 3rd spot, but had that contact, let's recall. So there still could be something from the stewards on that. We'll let them sort that out. Down to under 5.5 minutes to go, and coming back to the restart, Jason Daskelos backing down the pace. Everyone has to slow up behind him. When will he hit the go pedal?
That VP acceleration zone right there by the green cone. Harward goes early, gets alongside. I'm not sure what they're going to say about that one. He gives it back up again, so maybe he self-corrected a potential penalty there.
It did look like he got a jump on the restart there, backs it off.
Oh, Kurtz is in wide.
Yep, he was caught out by that. It seems to be a little bit off the pace here on this restart. Meanwhile, Daskelos has sprinted ahead after Harward backed out of it.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got some pickup on those tires. It really makes it treacherous on these restarts here. See, Burton there has got around Schulteis.
Great restart from Jeff. Remember, he had to spin on the formation lap. He was supposed to start third, and this is a reset that he needed. Maybe he can run up there with the top three. He's got some Gt4 traffic to get through if he's going to do it, though.
Jason Bell really wide. He's in the dirt. Can he keep it together? Where did he go?
There he is, off into the tires, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to make it stick in turn 6. We've seen a few moves made there, but Jason couldn't quite keep it pointed the right direction.
Well, you just got to reset your brain a little bit. You can't expect the car to behave the way it did prior to this restart here. Running around, tires aren't up to temperature. Get some pickup on those fronts. He's just going to drift wide a little bit. He just got those right sides in the mud, in the dirt, and went for a spin.
That promotes Hutton McKenna up a spot. He's now third in GT4 on debut. Very impressive. Big stack up at the exit of the chicane. That's a leg throw in the Mustang there that seems to be in the middle of everything.
Wow, this is crazy. Weatherall in the middle of those guys as well.
Yes.
GT3 car there, that bright silver and white. Triazzi Competizione. Here comes Gray Newell. I think he must have got that call for that contact with Jason Bell.
This is for second. That's McKenna making the move stick around Rob Holland. So put Hutton McKenna into second. Holland drops to third, and now McKenna sets sail with his target firmly set on Roche West. He's got a lap car in between, though.
He does. But he's an aggressive little driver. Looks like he's up on the wheel once again. Try to clear this car. He wants to get after that leader. Time is running out. Probably a couple of laps left here.
It's Custodio Toledo in the Rentec Mercedes in just his third pro start. We'll see him in Pirelli GT4 America later today. McKenna up the inside of the braking zone for turn 4. So now it's clear sailing to Roche West, the GT4 class leader.
Here we go. What can this young man dig deep and find here in these last couple of laps? Does he have enough to chase down that Aston Martin for the lead?
Let's look at their lap times. Hutton McKenna's best lap, a 154.9. Roche West has done a 54.4. And that was earlier in the race, and we're seeing tire drop off as expected here at Sonoma.
2 and 7. Just run really wide there. Tuck it back in. I think this caution will certainly give those tires a little chance to breathe again, but then you got to factor in how much pickup did I get, how much grip do I have. They should be back in this sweet spot once again. Holland from the lead. He's still hanging on to a podium run right now.
Brand new Porsche Caymans, new generation for 2022, making their official SRO America debut. In full homologation for GT4, and they're running second and third with McKenna and Holland. But it's the tried and true Aston from the Schwest Povolato Racing team that's out in front. Roche West building that advantage.
Yeah, and they look pretty equal. Looking at the sector times, both McKenna and Schwest there battling out for the lead in GT4. Very evenly matched.
Down inside, 2 minutes to go. This is the leader, Roche West, GT4 class leader. Clear track ahead of him, and he's got a nice gap at the moment over Hutton McKenna. 1.5 seconds the difference between the two. Last lap, so the leader did take the white flag. That's Jason Daskelos. Now George Kurtz running in second. Harward has dropped down to third overall. There they are, running on the screen. Daskelos in the Audi, trying to fend off the double race winner from Sonoma 1 year ago, George Kurtz.
Wow, where did he come from? He struggled there on the opening lap after the restart, but he's regrouped nicely. Now he's putting the pressure on for the lead. Can he go 3 for 3 here at Sonoma? Swept here last year.
This is the run down to the chicane. Crucial moment here to get out of that chicane with a chance to make a lunge into the final heavy braking zone, the hairpin of turn 11.
Daskalos goes in shallow, protects that inside line, trying to keep it nice and clean here. Key is getting the power down. George gets on the power early, gets a little bit of rear traction issue coming off. Does he put it all on the line here, down into the brake zone, the final corner?
Top 3 overall, nose to tail into the hairpin for the final time. Daskalos goes defensive. Kurt's trying to undercut him. Out of the hairpin, the drag race to the checkered flag. Jason Daskalos seeking win number 2 of the season. George Kurtz chasing him down, but it's Daskalos that wins in Sonoma.
That was close.
Daskalos over Kurtz by 1.5 tenths of a second. Just a few tenths further back to Harward. Now the fight is on for the lead in GT4. Mixed make that lap traffic just ahead of the leader. Ross West looking for his second career win in GT America, powered by AWS. Heading to turn 12 for the final time. Hutton McKenna closed him down, but comes up 1 lap short. Ross West wins at Sonoma.
Wow, what a couple of great opening races here between the 2 classes here today to set the table for the weekend, Ryan. That was cool. That
was fun. That's what GT America, powered by AWS, is all about. Sprint racing, single driver, multi-class competition. And Jason Daskalos and Ross West pick up the race wins in SRO 3 and GT4 respectively.
We are understanding, we didn't see that Gt4 start, and there was a change with the regulation in terms of how they were going to split the group. There may have been some drivers who weren't really following what the new rule was for this restart. So the initial Gt4 start is under review, including a bunch of our leading cars. So we talked about Brian Putt dropping way down the order. He probably got swamped there at the start there, whereas I think a lot of those GT4 cars went racing on the drop of the green for the GT3 field. So we'll have to wait for the dust to settle on these results a bit.
These are the results, but we stress they are provisional because indeed Schwest, McKenna, and Holland all under review. But as it stands, Daskalos, Kurtz, and Harward your podium in SRO 3. Mirko Schultes did get back around Jeff Burton to take that 4th spot. Burton finishes in 5th. Kyle Washington and Justin Wetherill the rest of the SRO 3 field. Then, for now at least, it's Ross West, Hutton McKenna, and Steve Dinan.
Podium at least. He could end up winning this thing.
So Rob Holland on that final lap dropped a number of positions. He was running 3rd. Now he is shown back in 6th in GT4. Dinan coming all the way through the field. He was set to start towards the back. Really great drive from Steve, yeah. Going to start, let's see, looks like about 10th or 12th in class. This is a little bit further down the order. Some drivers that had some frustrating days or just some misfortune.
Yeah, really, Cagnazzi has to start from pit lane, of course, and there we see Radisek. Shame for our championship leader there. Problems with that BMW.
Well, that was a wild start to our weekend in Sonoma. GT America, powered by AWS, the first of 2 races on the docket this weekend. And there is the race winner, the man of the hour, Jason Daskalos, a veteran of SRO America, and before that, Pirelli World Challenge competition. He's found a home for himself with his previous generation Audi, and a nice support group around him to make that car go fast.
You can see that little piece of bodywork, maybe a dive plane from one of the other competitors there, stuck to the tail of that diffuser, so maybe the car was reasonably good.
Guess so, but it's this car that will start on pole tomorrow, courtesy of the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, a 1:41.6 for Jason Harward, starting just his 2nd season of professional racing. He's come a long way in a short amount of time. We know he's got the pace, and now he's starting to add the racecraft to the combination.
Yeah, he's learning fast, and if he can grab the lead early tomorrow, he's got the pace to just take off.
Cars making the dive back into the paddock area. Looking forward to hearing from our winners. Here are some highlights of the race. This is the initial start, which was effectively a restart because there was an issue that brought out a yellow. And so the first few laps turned behind the safety car, but Daskalos able to sprint ahead of Kurtz. Harward there slotted into 3rd, and those 3 would be swapping those positions all race long. This is the initial start for GT4 coming up the hill and a number of spins, but no contact.
Yeah, and I think that was a jumbled up pack, so I think there's a lot going on there. A little bit of contact there coming through the chicane. Uretsky on Brian Putt, who's trying to recover from initial start where he got swamped, obviously dropping way down the order from his pole position.
One of the moves of the race, if not the move. What a great pass by Harward, slotting it to the inside of George Kurtz in turn 6.
Yeah, he did that a couple of times during the course of the race. Scary moment here for the leader coming up on GT4 traffic for Daskalos. He goes off through the weeds. Then on this restart, I think Harward thought he may have jumped it, gives it up there, and Kurtz gets really wide up through the hill as well.
McKenna slicing through lap traffic, trying to track down the leader, Ross West. That was after the restart. And coming to the checkered flag, Jason Daskalos by 0.152 seconds holds off the hard-charging George Kurtz, and the GT4 fight pretty close as well, with Ross West over Hutton McKenna by just about 0.3 of a second. Great racing across both classes in GT America, powered by AWS. That is the car that carried Jason Daskalos to victory, and very soon a chance to chat with Amanda. And I think Amanda is standing by with our overall winner.
And picking up his second win on the season. And Jason, I know you wanted to bounce back from race number 2 in St. Petersburg. When you look at today's victory, a couple of interesting things on track, but what led to this victory?
Yeah, we didn't have the best setup today. You know, we were struggling through the carousel. They were faster in certain areas. I had a little edge in others, but we didn't have the best car. We were able to hold on to first. Some of the traffic came into play, but we're able to bring it home, so that's what matters.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jason ran a partial schedule a year ago, had a couple of podiums, but no wins. 2 wins in the first 3 races to start 2022.
Yeah, and this championship is really starting to take hold, isn't it, Ryan? I mean, just so much competition in both classes, and I think people are really embracing this. Some people are using it as extra track time for GT World Challenge America, where they'll share the car, or even for Sprint X competition with the GT4 cars, but just really bigger fields, a lot of competition, and now it's the real deal. It's really got some meat on the bone this year.
Ross West, the GT4 winner, will be the next victim for Amanda. What a great race he ran to drive up to the front and pick up his second career win in GT America, powered by AWS. And he's standing by now with Amanda.
And check out, got to get the victory kiss in there. And Ross, you get another win here in this class, and you drove right up to the front of the GT4. When you look at this race, what was key in this win?
It was a very exciting race. All weekend long, it's been about adapting. The weather conditions have constantly been changing, and the conditions on track have constantly been changing. So it's been about adapting, and I think that was the key today, just adapting to the other drivers and adapting to the conditions.
When you look at the parity in this GT4 class and this GT America series, what do you think we're going to expect for the rest of the season?
It's very, very ultra competitive. A lot of very good drivers out there. So it's fortunate to get a win today, and we'll try to keep the momentum going.
Congratulations.
His day's not done. He'll be driving alongside Aaron Povolato, the 2 names in the team name. Schwest Povolato Racing in the Pirelli GT4 America race a bit later on, and it will be this same chassis unless they were able to work out some of those electrical issues. That was their hope. Talking to Aaron Povolato, he said it's not ideal. The heat soak, you don't totally get out before the next race, depending on the schedule. And, of course, there's the risk factor, too, that an accident in one series can affect 2 series instead of just 1. But we know the car is fast.
Yeah, well, you'd have to think that Aaron was probably sweating more than Ross was there, just making sure that he's got a car to compete with later in the afternoon. But he did a wonderful job, put the pressure on, held the lead comfortably there, and seemed to be in total control. But a ton of competition there. There's Jason Harward. He's all thumbs up, very pleased with his performance this afternoon. Another solid podium run for him. And
the damage, the battle scars for George Kurtz, that Riley Motorsports team, they'll get to work and fix the front fascia. Didn't slow him down any. Great charge there at the end from George to get back to second.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get dropped there a little bit. Boy, did he regroup nicely there and put the pressure back on and almost stole the win.
Let's look at the Carbon car. Steve Dinan, Carbon with Peregrine Racing.
This is probably, I mean, we've talked about everyone else's great run, but for Dinan, what a run. Podium, and the other 2 are still up for looking at that initial start, see if they drew any penalties.
So many great stories, and we'll get to do it all over again tomorrow. Congratulations to Jason Daskalos and Ross West, race winners in GT America, powered by AWS.